Welcome to Synthaholics, where if you don't drink your poison,
We'll bring the boys in. That will slowly be unfolded what that meant.
we,
That's for
we,
sure.
we will slowly descend into madness. That is I, David Duncan, and with me is
Brian. What up, David?
lots of poison, lots and lots of poison. I'm gonna have
Lots
to
of
drink
poison,
it.
huh? So our backgrounds probably don't make any sense. So normally, well, first we got news. I always got a little something. I got a couple things actually. Tencent, the Chinese powerhouse gaming like arm of the government, just took 15% stake into From Software. So they got their claws into another game studio. Hopefully China stops doing that because they're probably going to censor everything. So that's all I got for that. David, what are your thoughts on that? Do you like the Chinese government?
No, but I also don't like From Software, so
Oh man. Well, I think they're a fine company because people do like the games that they make, even though I
even though
am
they're
not the
all
biggest fan of them.
garbage.
They're not garbage. People love them. They win Game of the Year like every time there's one that comes out. Another one I got is Matt Booty, who is part of Xbox, was talking about Fable. The development team of Fable wants to start showing the game, but they're not ready yet. They're not ready to show, and sounds like they're under promising with hoping to over deliver. So I like Fable when they came out. Maybe this one will be good? Question mark. We'll see. We haven't seen anything yet. Yeah.
I only played Fable a very little bit on the PC, and it was okay.
Well, hopefully this one will be.
I did
better.
like fall in love with people like super fell in love with it. I did not get that.
It wasn't there. The magic wasn't there. So
Not for me. People raved about the game. I mean, maybe I just didn't play it long enough. Who knows?
I liked them, and I hope this one's good. I hope it looks as good as Forza. But the last piece,
it's gonna look like
no,
a
it's gonna look
cartoon-
better.
It's gonna look like a cartoony mess, like all the other ones did.
No, don't say that. That was over 20 years ago.
Well, that's the style of flobble. Flobble.
So the last piece of news here is we haven't watched any of Rings of Power yet,
No, I have
But-
not seen it yet.
but I do know that Jeff Bezos thanked the showrunners for not taking his notes. Like he gave notes on the show, and he gave them to the showrunners, and the showrunners ignored them. So I don't know if Jeff Bezos' notes were good or bad, but I don't know. It seems weird that they didn't even take it into account.
Jeff Bezos' notes were "Don't f this up." This was a directive from his son. His son was like, "Dad, don't f this up." So that was probably Jeff Bezos' notes to the production team
Don't
making
F it up.
Rings of Power. Don't f it up. They disregarded it, so they effed it up. It feels like it's a
Just
very
in spite. They're doing it just to spite Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, they're doing it despite Jeff Bezos and his son apparently. It's I haven't watched it yet, but it feels like it's a Star Wars sequel kind of vibe as far as like the reviews for it go. It seems like the reviewer outlets are generally giving it more favorable reviews, like not perfect or stellar by any means, but more positive, whereas like actual fans, like actual regular people, are giving it like very low scores.
Yeah, I think right now, as of us recording this, I think there's 3 episodes out, or 2. There's 2 or 3 out.
There's at least 2. I know
There's
there's
okay,
2.
there's at
'Cause
least 2,
I've
and-
watched some people's reviews about the first 2 episodes, so
Yeah, and
these
we
regular
haven't watched it
YouTube personalities are like, yeah, not very good. He's like, I don't even. He's like the one guy who's like, I'm not even gonna review every single episode going forward because it's just not interesting. I'm like, wow.
Wow, that's gonna be a lot of lost content considering the show's gonna be on for 20 years.
Well, it's just that he described this particular YouTuber described he and his friends as a solar system, and Lord of the Rings is the sun of the solar system. Like it's how important it is to him and his friends' lives, the Lord of the Rings. And
Well.
after watching this new Lord of the Rings show, it's like, it's that bad that something that big and important to him doesn't matter to him to review every single episode because the first 2 are so lackluster. That's ow.
Yeah, that's an ow.
If that's like, and I mean, I don't know if like Lord of the Rings is that important to you and me and some of my other friends, but I mean, it's important. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite. I mean, we gave it a 10, basically.
Yeah, I'm still gonna watch it and talk
I mean,
about it.
we're gonna watch and talk about it. We're gonna wait for the entire season to be over.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how the focus of this show has gone. We either do like half an episode, half the season, or a full season, instead of individual episodes. So we dropped that old format.
We're modernizing. We're following what other people do.
Well, I don't know. Some people do.
I don't know what other people do. I don't really watch reviews.
Yeah.
I review myself. But I'm still on the topic of Rings of Power. They used 20 VFX studios for almost, I think it was 10,000 VFX shots. So there's a lot of VFX shots.
So basically, the best people, like regular YouTubers, say that the most good they say about it is that it looks good, it looks expensive,
but the quality of the story is bad. Yeah. Maybe? I don't know. We can't guess. We're not guessing. We haven't seen it yet. You'll know our thoughts when the show ends.
Based on what people are saying, it's not it's boring.
Yeah, that seems to be what it is. So that's all the news I got. I think it's been kind of a slow 2 weeks for news. Do you got anything?
I mean, the
David?
only thing I was going to talk about specifically was the lackluster fan response to Rings of Power. It's been not great. Like I'm waiting to watch some of it till we get a couple more episodes. Probably we're gonna review the entire season as a season, because after getting burned on Star Trek Discovery and speculating what's gonna happen episode to episode, and they just do something completely dumb at the end, I'm done doing that kind of reviewing because it's just painful.
It hurts too much.
It's mentally, and it taxes my soul and my mind, and I'm like, I don't want to think that hard about it if they're just gonna under deliver like everything. So I'm just gonna like wait to the end, do it whole.
I guess that makes sense. So on to our main topic of discussion. So normally, David, we try to be slightly topical, and we're like, sometimes we're a little bit behind what the current trend is. Well, this week we're not on any trend. We're making our own thing going on. So this movie is called The Return of Captain Invincible, and David and I were talking about this yesterday night. We can't find anybody who's reviewed this movie yet, so if anybody reviews it after us or talks about it after us, we started it. Probably nobody will, but
hopefully we'll start the trend of talking about this classic movie from the year of my birth, 1983.
The Return of Captain Invincible. So, David, before we get into ratings and everything, I wanted to just I tried to understand why nobody knew about this movie. I've never met anybody who's known anything about this movie. You didn't know about it. I don't even know how I knew about it, but we watched it.
So you just knew about it, or did you?
I don't know how. I don't know where I got it from. I have absolutely no clue.
Well, I just saw your IMDb and Christopher Lee, and just said, "Oh, this looks interesting. Let's watch."
I might have done that. I have like a list of just random movies that I've seen or saw across. I mean, it could be maybe that is what I did, because this has been on this list for a very long time, like 5, 6, 7 years. That's been on my list of things to watch. So, for this movie, it was hard to watch it. It's not, you can't buy a DVD for it. You can't rent it. You can't stream it. So it's like abandonware. So we found it and we watched it. And
Ryan's invaluable sleuthing found it on some archive website.
Yes. And we watched it there. But why this movie didn't succeed, it cost $7 million to make. And in today's monies, that's $21 million. And would you like to take a guess at what it did at the box office?
Well, I'm gonna guess half. It probably only made half its money back.
Okay, half.
Yeah, half.
Locking it in. It made $55,000.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh, wow! This movie was a box office bomb, apparently.
That's insane. That like I don't know if it deserves that bad. Like it's as your line, as you keep saying your line. It's go ahead, say it.
Well, so I watched it before Brian. He sent me the link for the archive website. I watched it, and the next day he texted me. He's like, "Did you watch it?" I said, "Yeah, it's something." And Brian's like, "I haven't watched it. I'll watch it later." And then like I don't know if you're in the middle of watching it or if you were done watching it, and I just get a text out of the blue. Well, it's something.
Yeah. So man, I've been trying to think of like what the heck I'm gonna rate this. I feel like this is in like its own type of like genre type. Like we talk about things that are generally pretty popular in terms of the amount of people that watch stuff like Marvel and all that.
People didn't even watch this movie when it was new.
Yeah, so there's no way anybody knows about this movie. But this is like if I give something like we did Venom or whatever, I don't remember what I gave it. Probably a 6 or a 7. I feel like that's a different type of category from what this is, because this is like worse but better. Yeah.
Worse,
it's
but
like
better.
Worse than better. I think for my enjoyment, first of all, if you watch this with friends, it's gonna be way better if you watch it by yourself. If you're watching it with friends, you're gonna start crying. You're gonna laugh so hard.
Friends and alcohol.
Yeah, that'll do so. Definitely alcohol. We'll circle back to at some point.
Friends, alcohol, and recreational drugs. If you're into that thing, I'm not subscribing you to. No, you shouldn't do that. But I mean, like, if you already do imbibe, I mean, it might elevate
add to the experience.
It might elevate the experience. I'm not prescribing it or recommend it in any which way. Just to put that out there.
So
Twitch and YouTube.
Like a B movies, I guess I'm gonna give it like a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7 for its like own genre of B movies. That I would imagine after watching this, we're probably gonna find other movies that are like this in the future and talk about them.
So like one of Brian and I's big inspirations were huge fans of Red Letter Media, and they do a show called Best of the Worst. So like we might like when during a dry spell, we might look for crappy movies to watch that no one's ever heard of as like kind of a tribute to Red Letter Media's Best of the Worst. So like in our own sort of Best of the Worst category, it'll be a different category for movies. Like you can't judge this rating versus like a modern movies rating because they don't make movies like this. Like tonally, like I mean the special effects are its own thing because it came out.
Well, it's also the early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah. But tonally, just like this kind of movie just is not made anymore. I mean, even like comedies from the early 2000s and late 90s aren't made anymore. This is some kind of weird relic that only kind of existed, I think, in like the 80s and early 90s maybe. Like this is like unheard of. This is bizarre.
I bet you couldn't even get this in the 90s. I bet it was in movie. I don't know all the details, but I bet you it was in movies for a very short amount of time because it only made 55,000, and then it was put on VHS for maybe a year or two where you could rent it, and then after that they're like nobody's watching this, and then they just got rid of it, and now you can't buy it anywhere.
Yeah, it's so like in that if you're into like obscure weird movies and like to watch bad movies, I would also go with like a 6.57. Like it's a pretty good bad movie. Like it's not unwatchable.
Yeah, that is true.
It's got a bizarre charm to it, where yes. It's like, I'd watch parts of this movies again. In fact, I played one of the ending numbers again. I wanted to hear it again. Like it was my favorite part of the movie. It was a lot of fun. It put a smile on my face. Like,
yeah. For example,
it's a thing.
The opening like 5-10 minutes is in black and white.
I thought it was like broken. I was like, why is this 80s movie in black and white?
It was in black and white, and it was a news reporter where they were like, there was one like line. So Captain Invincible. We even said the title. The Return of Captain Invincible is a musical superhero movie. So I don't know if it's actually considered a musical, but there's definitely a lot of songs.
There are songs. Yeah, it's probably not a true musical, but the leads do break into songs.
Yeah. So Captain Invincible, I'm not really sure 100% what his powers are. He kind of like it's like magnet.
He can fly. He can activate magnets. And I don't know if he's like bulletproof. I felt like he was scared of bullets and vacuum
He
cleaners.
was bulletproof at the start of the movie, but by the end of the movie, he wasn't bulletproof anormore, I guess.
Well, I guess
he was scared.
I think he forgot how to be bulletproof, maybe? I don't know. He was also scared of vacuum cleaners at one point in the movie.
Oh, yeah, that was oh, man, that was a good part, too. We're too far ahead. So, yeah.
No, but I'm just trying to explain his powers. Like he has the power of magnetism, he has the power of flight, and he's at least super strong in the fact that he can, lift cars, giant marble earths, like giant rock earths.
Yeah,
globes.
like an Atlas stone type of thing.
Yeah, he's at least strong in that regard. His vulnerability or invulnerability is, I guess. I mean,
singing.
No, but it just means if he's invulnerable or not. Like, I don't know if he's like Superman, where he's like invulnerable.
I don't know. He didn't get hurt at all during this movie.
No, he didn't. But he also wasn't attacked by anything all that menacing. Again, he was attacked by vacuum cleaners.
The vacuum cleaner thing cracked me up because they're sucking all the air out of the room. Oh man, okay. So the movie starts off with like a newscast of showing Captain Invincible, and they're in like a villain lair. This news reporting is like in a villain lair, and the like news person is saying like Captain Invincible knew the cameras would be on the scene, so he knew the news would be there.
Apparently the news is also involved with the mafia dealings.
Yeah, he knew the news would be there.
Like the mafia was cool with the news people being there with cameras and everything.
Yeah.
So I guess he was fighting the mafia. He fights in World War II. And then
he's Soldier Boy.
Yeah, he's Soldier Boy. He's Homelander and Soldier Boy if one of them had magnetism powers.
Exactly. But yeah, so then after that he gets in trouble because he did something with Russia.
Well, no,
like
they imply he did something with Russia because his cape was red, and the Red Scare was about the Russians. They thought his cape was red because he was in allegiance with the Russia. And this is still black and white at the time, so we don't know actually the color of his cape because we're in black.
It was a creative choice. Yeah, it's definitely a creative choice to do black and white.
Yeah, because because during the time it would have just been black and white TV back during World War II, if they even had TV.
I'm not sure.
They must have had some.
It was like it's a period piece.
They were trying to do it slightly more period, so it wasn't in color till we get to the 80s. But
yeah,
we've got him. He's under trial, and they're like, "Oh, what are you a captain of? You weren't in the United States military. You're not a captain in the military. Or are you a captain of?" Russia. Are you a Russian captain? Yeah, are you a Russian captain of evil? So basically he becomes a disgraced superhero and turns to a life of alcoholism from the end of
which is very fitting
from the World War II to the early 80s.
Yeah, and there's
there's an important part before he gets accused. He meets a boy, and this boy.
That's what I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to add that because he meets a boy who eventually becomes the president of the U.S.
of the United States.
But he starts a fire. I just want to say that he starts a fire. He has a trunk of a tree, and he rubs two sticks together. He like I don't know how he's starting to he's rubbing it.
He's doing the
with a trunk of a tree, and he starts this little tiny fire.
Into this other trunk of a tree. He's rubbing two trunks of trees together. It's pretty
And then
great.
during that scene, he also takes the picture with a little boy, and he does something to his shoulder that comes back later. He crushes it. It makes a little sound effect, and then that there's a payoff with that.
If there is this is a bad movie, but at least it follows like Red Letter Media would always say, it's at least following movie rules where there's setup and there's payoff. Like, this is why it's probably in the higher realm of bad movies, because at least it's following movie rules. Even some modern movies don't even do setup and payoff. Like, they definitely set up the shoulder thing, and he's like, what do you want to be when you grow up, kid? He's like, I want to be just like you. And Captain Invincible's like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. What else would you want to do? It's like, I guess I could be the president of the United States. And he's like, well, you could call me anytime if you become president of the United States.
Yeah. So let's just talk about, because I don't know exactly when that president part pays off. So he moves to like Australia, or no, he ends up in Australia.
He
somehow.
drunkenly flies and lands in Australia. He still thinks he's in New York City, like the entire movie.
But he ends up in Australia, and becomes a drunk. Which I guess that is his weakness. Being drunk is his weakness, or talking alcohol is his weakness.
Yeah,
just being around it.
because he became it's his kryptonite. But he had nothing else to do, so he just became a bum.
Yeah. And he's gone. Mr. Midnight, who is played by Christopher Lee.
The great Christopher Lee, and he has.
Which might I say, he's the best part of every time he's on screen. He's the best part of the movie for sure. You can tell he was having fun with this role. Like in the 80s, he already was halfway through his acting career. He's been acting since like the early 40s, and we're in the 80s, so it's not. He's a well-established actor at this time, and you could tell he's just having a blast.
He's just having fun. He's hanging out with a proto orc. Like
it's like a midget orc.
It's like a goat orc thing. Like, I don't know. Like,
it's like a goat orc.
They don't explain like what he says. He's like some kind of genetic.
They don't explain it at all.
He's like some kind of genetic anomaly who's like more evolved than a human apparently, or whatever. Like he has sex with some of Christopher Lee's groupies. It's later in the movies, and then like Christopher Lee is like Butler tells the goat not to, and then he has sex with him too. like in the middle of fixing Christopher Lee dinner, and Christopher Lee's just sitting there waiting for his dinner to be unveiled. Because it's got the dome, the over top of it, so it can be. And the whole scene plays in like fast motion, and Christopher Lee's just sitting there for like 5 minutes. Like it's probably 5 minutes of real time, but like it's sped up, so it's only like a minute long. Yeah, it's this.
Yeah,
you don't you don't see movies like this ever.
What was Christopher or Mr. Midnight's plan? It seemed so he had two like weapons until he had like a third one, I guess, but he had a giggle gun that made people laugh, and then he had a hypno ray. And the hypno ray he was using on like everybody that wasn't a white person to move into this one city so he could bomb it. Like that was my understanding. He was like, if you weren't white, he would hypnotize you to go to an island city that he made where he eventually is going to blow up to kill like every race and everything. That was like his goal, wasn't it?
I'm not sure what his. I thought he was just trying to take over the world.
Oh no, that's not what I got at all. Because they were doing like interviews to like move to this town, and he kept hitting people with, like it would be like an Indian couple, and you'd hit him with a hypno gun, and then they're like, "Oh, we want to live here." Then a black family would come, and he's like, "Oh," you hit him with the hypno gun. "Oh, we want to live here now." They were all like, I don't know. But that's what I thought, because there was Hitler. Well, Hitler was in this movie too.
Yeah. Oh, but there's also the world domination angle, because he's like first New York City, then the world. Like he wanted to like.
Yeah, that's true.
Like he still wanted.
I guess it's not super clear. It's not super clear what he wants.
He has a lot of groupies, though.
He does have a lot of groupies. There's 3 of them right there.
There's 3 of his groupies.
So, while Captain Invincible is a drunk, I guess they don't show him drinking alcohol, but he just acts like he's drunk all the time. In Australia.
Well, doesn't he have the paper bag? Like usually,
Oh, he did.
Yeah, I think he just.
He might have. Yeah, okay. I guess that would make sense. I might have missed that like 3 seconds that it was in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's walking around Australia, and this woman randomly shows up.
Well, he also is on the newscast. He's totally drunk. He's like, "Yeah, the International Space Station. I like flew and I tried to catch it."
Oh yeah.
He was like super drunk, like on the thing, and the guy's like, "Yes, this," and he kept trying to interrupt the news reporter.
This news and this took place in the middle of nowhere on top of a mountain.
Yeah,
like that was the way they showed it. It was like they're in the middle of nowhere, and this news reporter is just like standing here with this drunk guy.
It's weird. It's like it's hard to tell if the movie's being like actually intentionally funny or accidentally funny. Like it feels like a mix of both, kind of, sort of. I don't know. It's like it's definitely got the comedy angle, but like I don't know. It's weird.
Okay, so Captain Invincible is being a drunk in Sydney, Australia. He's just roaming around, and this woman sees a mugging, and immediately she takes out a gun and starts shooting. And then the next scene is her running away from a car that has a flamethrower in front of it. Which is the picture above me.
It's a bug, and it opens up, and it has a flamethrower, and drunk Captain Invincible just walking through the alley, and like he throws it up in the air or something. Like a lot of like the feats of strength they cut away from because they're not showing it happen. They showed just the aftermath of it, so
they can't really show it either because they don't have it doesn't like they really have the budget or the VFX to do it.
So it's just your imagination. I assume he threw it like up in the air. He just but you don't see. There's several scenes like that where something happens and it's like, well, I guess Captain Invincible did it, but we didn't see.
We don't know. His powers are limitless. So I thought I really got a kick out of that. When she sees a guy just trying to take a wallet from some person, she immediately just takes out a gun and just starts open fire. And then the mugger guy also just starts open firing at her. I got a real big kick out of that.
In the streets of Sydney.
Yeah. After that scene, we're introduced to the president, who
we don't know. We don't know he's the.
We don't know he's the president, but he's like walking through a building with just a bunch of naked people. Like naked women are just everywhere.
This movie was PG, by the way.
Wait, this was PG?
Man, you got away with a lot during PG back in the day.
I guess you're allowed to be naked in a PG movie because there was probably 30, 40 people naked in this scene.
I guess.
It was so. We don't know he's the president. I don't know exactly what he was wanting, but he started singing a song.
He's like, we need a hero. Like there, he's like remembering Captain Invincible. Like the picture frame is facing him, so we don't see what's on the picture frame. He just starts singing about how we need a hero and we need someone because I find out the hypno gun has been kidnapped and we don't know how to get it. So we need a hero to save the hypno gun, save the day.
And the giggle gun. They need the giggle gun.
Giggle, yeah.
I like the name of that gun.
The giggle gun compromised the secure area they were in. That's why there was a bunch of naked chicks and like drunk.
That Mr. Midnight, he's getting into everything.
He's like, if they're not gonna be my groupies, they can be the military's groupies.
The giggle gun. So this is when after that this is when Captain Invincible meets the president, and this is where that payoff from the start of the movie comes. I think it's like somewhere right after this.
Well, because the police lady, they talk to her because they know she knows Captain Invincible or she's seen him, and so she's trying to ask him to come back to be a superhero again, and he follows her to his drunken hideout where he just drinks and sleeps, I guess.
And his drunken hideout.
And so this is when Captain Invincible thinks he's like a mugger because he's not dressed presidential. He's just kind of like skulking around. And then he tells him, you touched my shoulder once.
He taking his clothes off. He's just like, let me show you.
Look at my shoulder. You touched it. And it's somehow left a mark, which means you're
We don't see the mark, though. It doesn't show the mark.
We don't see it. They didn't.
He takes off his shirt, and then he has like a
Captain Invincible
vest on. He takes that off.
He's like, take this off for me. Unbutton it. Look at my back. Look at my back. And like
he was saying it like super sexually too. He was just like, take my shirt up for me. I can't do it.
And
he's the president.
It's like he's trying to have like a childlike excitement, like he's trying to look like a child, but this guy's in his like 60s. He's clearly in his 60s, and the president, and he comes off so creepy looking, trying to look youthful and childful and like childfully excited. His childfully excited face is quite frightening, but he's
the president. This is who plays the president.
That's the president over there.
President right here. So yeah,
She's not the president.
there's that scene. God, this movie, like I was having a hard time like understanding what exactly was going on for most of this movie.
It's a lot of. It feels like a lot of random scenes.
Yeah, it's just kind of like jumping from scene to scene. So they're not really connected.
So then they're trying to like teach him how to get his powers because he doesn't remember how to use his magnet powers or his flying powers, and so they've got him on a harness in front of a screen that's like moving to make him like think he's flying or whatever, and then he's like he needs Dramamine because he's like throwing up all the time, and then like he's got apparently catchphrases. He said, "Oh, he's got a computer brain. He can."
Oh yeah, that's right.
I forgot. So he's got a catchphrase. He says to like activate his computer brain, to activate his flying, and to activate.
He needs to remember it,
and to activate his metallic thing. And people apparently it's documented what he used to say before he did the things. So they're telling him what to say, but like they're trying to get him to fly, and the flying one activated his magnetic powers, and it like takes the magnetic buttons off these women's dresses so like you can see their bras, and then like the whistle, a gun sticks
immediately it's
head.
just everybody's clothes just start coming off again.
Like,
some guy's got a corset on for some reason.
Yeah, like their badges fly out. Like he's just covered with stuff, metal stuff. And like I really wish they would have used the rule of thirds and like done more with this magnetic power, because every other time he uses his magnetic power, it basically just shorts out the electricity everywhere. Like they didn't really use it in like a funny like way like that. Like I guess she bends over when he's at her house, and like it kind of makes things short circuit a little bit when he's looking at her butt, but like.
Oh yeah.
But like
the light flicker.
I was expecting like another like clothes like 2 or 3 clothes removal scenes like throughout the movie with his magnetic powers or whatever, and they didn't really follow that up with like anything bigger. The first time he does it is like the biggest time it ever happens.
It's the only time he really uses it. He doesn't really ever. Well, no. He uses it, but it doesn't. Like you don't feel like he uses it.
It doesn't magnetize things in the other. It just like shorts out power for whatever reason. Like it just
a little smoke starts. And when he's using his computer brain, his head starts smoking.
Because he has
a little smoke starts coming out of his head.
Because he has
It's like behind. You can tell that there's like some guy behind him with like a match, and he's just holding it like not like behind his head so the camera can't see. Oh, he starts talking like really fast. They used a lot of this like speeding up. I don't know what like they didn't have the tech to
like fast forward. So he sounds like a chipmunk, like faster and faster. They just sped up the
reel or whatever.
Yeah. it's like they had to record the audio separately, so he's just talking, and then like they had to like they chipmunkized it. Like he literally sounded like Alvin the Chipmunk, so he's like talking real fast.
Yeah, he's talking, and he can't get it to stop because his computer brain is breaking. So he's like banging his head on like the wall and the ground and a desk, a book.
Throws it through the wall.
Yeah, to try to make him stop talking fast.
Very slapstick. One of the things I forgot to say about the black and white segment, it felt like a Three Stooges reel. Like, because the filmography was very different. Like, the acting was... It felt like it was something from, like, earlier. Like the Three Stooges.
Yeah, it's like he's getting shot at, and he picks up, like, one of those, like, 55-gallon, like, wooden barrels. He's just, like, holding it in front while it's getting shot, and, like, little water starting to just, like, pour out of it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
so I guess he was never bulletproof. I guess he is scared of bullets. I guess bullets can't hurt him. I don't know. He wasn't scared of them.
Whether they affected him or not, we don't know because he never gets hit. But he used to not be scared of them until he was scared of them. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way it happened because he wasn't scared in that black and white clip. Like he was Superman pretty much.
Yeah, he was, and he kind of flies like Superman, but instead of like having the girl fly next to him, like with her arms spread out, she just sits on him like he's a chair.
Yeah, he's just like planking. This happens multiple times too. It doesn't happen like one time. When Captain Invincible is flying, he flies like Superman, and the Australian police woman that they talk about, they say don't call it's police person. They don't say police. Yeah. You can't say policeman. It's police person.
They were.
This was in the 80s.
They were woke in 1983.
Yeah, I've never seen any old movie where they talk about that before. That's like a newer thing where they like say, oh, you can't say fireman, it's fire person or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're talking about it in the early 80s.
The
So
80s was very person. Now it's they.
yes. Police they.
Police they.
Yeah, so I told her, oh yeah, the way he's sitting on the back. He's planking and she's sitting on him like he's a bench. Like she's just got her legs folded over
She's like sitting cross-legged, like on his back.
Yeah, she's just sitting there. And they go to the Statue of Liberty, where they set up his base.
And like
I guess
in the head of the Statue of Liberty. Yeah.
And somebody says like they want to visit. They want to visit the head, and they said the government locked it down.
It cuts to tourists.
Yeah, it just randomly cuts to tourists on a boat, and a kid is like, "Can I go in the Statue of Liberty's head?" And the lady that's the tourist just says, like, "No, the government locked it down 30 years ago," and it just cuts back to Captain Invincible, like in his bed in the Statue of Liberty's head. Yep. I guess. It's like a full apartment in there too. It's not like small. He's got a lot of room to like run around in there too.
Yeah.
And there's like this machine in there, which I still don't understand what it does. Where he like sits down, he puts like goggles on and this headpiece on. He's like, I'm just gonna wait for 1950 again. Like I don't understand what was going on there because he wanted to go back to the old times when he understood his powers.
Well, he liked the radio. He kept on talking about this radio because I guess he could hear radio waves, like even when he's like not wearing the equipment.
Oh, and he was like, "It's not on."
Yeah,
that doesn't pay off. That's something that doesn't pay off.
Oh no, it does.
It does.
She is in this head of the Statue of Liberty. She reads through the radio and she gets him up.
Yeah, that's right.
After he's debilitated from this scene.
Yes,
she gets him up.
He like listens to. Every time he gets close to like electronics, he's like, "It's not on."
Yeah,
it's not on.
Yeah, because he's got this little radio. I guess it just amplifies his radio hearing powers or whatever.
His radio hearing powers.
Like he just hear radio without being like near radio, and like she just speaks to him like from the Statue of Liberty's head, and like says encouraging things, and he gets up and saves the day after he was crippled at the base of the booze tower.
So wait. Was it he was trying to make a joke when he said, "I'm just going to wait until 1950," or did he have like an ability where he could go back in time?
Oh, he was probably...
He just says, I'm waiting until 1953 or whatever it was.
I don't know what his intention was there. It was a strange line.
Yeah, so he's got quite the setup in the Statue of Liberty. And Mr. Midnight is starting to
He has a scale model of New York in like an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and he's like he's floating around in the swimming pool. And he's got a submarine. He's got a big submarine toy. I guess it's scaled to like. I don't know.
They're literally just standing in like a pool. The little gremlin guy, his like right hand man,
his little orc guy,
him are just standing like in knee high water with like little styrofoam islands that he's like building. There's at one point where he's like, "We're gonna do 30 years of research and development in 5 minutes," and he just stands still again for probably real time 10 minutes while they just have like the gremlin guy run around and like do stuff in the pool. They're just running around like pushing like the styrofoam around. They don't add or take anything away.
He's just waiting for it to happen. His movie's just strange, man. It's so weird.
We're doing 30 years of research and development. It's not explained like if they actually they don't do 30 years, but like he says we're doing 30 years of research and things just go really fast around him for the next like minute of the movie. It's like the camera just has one shot and it's just shooting at this pool while things are just happening around him. Well, Christopher is just standing there still for 5 minutes. He's just like, because he can't move, otherwise he'll be sped up.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh man, that was a good scene too. So they finally get Captain Invincible's back, and they're going to a random store that he gets from his computer brain, and it's a vacuum store where he's like, "This is where Mr. Midnight is." After he just rambles on random stuff, because they like take a book. They take a couple books and they like flip it in front of him. He just like picks all the information up like really fast because he's got a computer brain. So they just get a bunch of like dictionaries and like phone books, and they just like flip them in front of his face for like 3 seconds. He's like, got it, got it, got it. And he just somehow discovers that Mr. Midnight is in a lair in a vacuum shop, and they go to this vacuum shop, and this scene is just gold. This scene is just absolute gold. And so they get to this vacuum shop. They kind of just like stand in like the lobby,
Yeah,
and they don't go anywhere. But there's a bunch of vacuums around them.
Well, Dr. Midnight's got a camera to the lobby, and he sees that he's there. He's like, "Oh, I guess he'll be dead soon." And then the vacuum cleaners, all the hoses are like alive, like snakes, but they're all just like hanging from wires, like moving around them, and it's weird.
And the one line of dialogue in this entire thing of them just like getting choked out by like the girl had like 30 vacuum hoses on her. She looked just, and Captain Invincible comes over and just like is like pulling them off, and you can clearly tell he's just like taking them off of her in no special way. And he just says, "We gotta get out of here. The vacuums are sucking up all the air. We're not gonna be able to breathe."
It's gonna make it like a space vacuum inside the little store.
Yeah.
Apparently that door's sealed pretty good. Yeah.
And so he somehow ends up upside down in the ceiling. I don't really remember how that happened, but he was like upside down rubbing his wrists together. And she was like, "What are you doing?" As she's like choking out because she can't breathe anymore. He's like, "I'm gonna short circuit all the vacuums." He just like he rubs his wrists together for like literally 15 seconds of him is just the camera's on him just rubbing his wrists together, and then he just touches a light bulb and all the vacuums just die except one where he falls out of the ceiling, and it's just the vacuum like tube, and he's laying on the ground just like wrestling it, and you can see like it's not attached to anything. He's just like wrestling with a vacuum tube or suction tube or whatever they're called. I don't know.
Yeah, the hose.
Yeah, the vacuum hose. And that was just fantastic. I think she loses her shirt here. Her shirt gets sucked off or something here. I don't
remember. Yeah,
there's a lot of that. Just
random
women just losing their clothes all the time for like no reason. A vacuum just sucked her clothes off. Oh man.
Know.
Yeah, so that's that scene, and then oh man, should we start talking about the your favorite? I think the best part of the entire movie.
Well, we forgot about there's a subway scene where like there is a duoing song between. Because we did mention this is a musical, so there's a dueling song between Mr. Midnight and Captain Invincible. Like Captain Midnight's like in his lair, or no, Mr. Midnight's in his lair where it's like all like red and dark, and his groupies are all dancing around him, and he's like dancing. They're singing a song, and then he's on a subway, and then the Captain Invincible's on a subway. He's singing his half of the song. It's weird. It's amazing stuff. Like a bunch of random scenes. Like I don't really know like what the context. I guess he was trying to find the layer via the subway.
I wish they would just take this movie's story like 1-to-1 and just make it like Black Panther. Like this is what Black Panther would be, and just see how that would do.
Man,
just something completely random.
And like before they get to my song, like Captain Invincible's walking through like the layer, and like there's a giant panel. It's like snake pit number 1, snake pit number 2, snake pit number 3, alligator pit number 1, alligator pit number 2. Like it's just he falls, he like falls into like this like different snake. He just keeps falling these different snake holes. They're like a foot apart from each other.
Shark pit, alligator pit. And then the best one is obviously the giant peach pit at the end, where he drops a giant peach pit on top of him. Anything that you can make a pun with the word pit, is used here. And then when he finally gets past all these like pits, he gets to Mr. Mr. Midnight, and he says a pit pun, and I don't remember exactly what he says. Like that was pit perfect. I don't remember what he said or
That was
something.
pitch perfect.
It was pit perfect.
Oh man.
So this is the well. There also wait, hold on. There is also this fight right here with they go to the right before he goes to the pits. All the pits. It's another storefront where I guess it's like a bakery diner
It's a
type
deli.
of a deli. That was it.
Because he's in New York City.
And they just walk in and everybody starts actually they walk in and the whole deli shuts down and just looks at Captain Invincible, and then they just go back to normal again. Like they shut the music off, they shut everything off, and they just stare at him, and then they go sit down, and then there's a fight with guns, and this is where we find out he's scared of guns again, and there's a fish gun. I like the fish gun. There's a fish gun.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just that scene. There's just a lot of gun shooting. He's throwing pies at everybody to defeat.
Very Three Stooges.
Instead of like shooting people and using his magnet powers, he's just sitting by a table that just has a bunch of pies and like cake, and he's just throwing these cakes and pies at people so hard that they're like getting knocked out by the pie. Oh man! Then he goes to the pit. Now we're at Mr. Midnight's lair, where the best song in the world is composed. Where you should talk about it, because I don't drink, so you would know. Know like lyrics.
So basically, this song is like it's a ton of drinks just composed, names of drinks composed into lyrics. It starts off, "Might I say I'm old-fashioned." That I was once a fresh Manhattan, with the white Anglo-Saxons anywhere, and a black Russians. No pink lady, give her the Singapore sling, and a Moscow muse, not your baby.
It's hard to understand him too.
Well,
he's not super easy to understand.
Yeah, it's all these drink names, and then it goes to the chorus, which Brian's favorite part is the chorus, because since he doesn't drink.
You pick your poison. Oh no! If you don't pick your poison, I'll bring the poison. Oh man! And during this scene, he shoots a missile at Captain Invincible, like a giant prop missile is like brought out that looks like it'd be on like an aircraft carrier, and it makes like this little poof.
Well, one of the weirdest thing, like this movie's been weird all the way through, but during this song specifically, it cuts to a woman who's not one of the groupies. She's leaning against the bar with all the liquor on it, and she's singing Christopher Lee's lines, but it's some random woman. Like, is Christopher Lee randomly turning into a woman, or is like this some like manifestation, or is this some strange manifestation of booze? Like, what is this? Why is this here? It's not one of these ladies. Is that supposed to be Christopher Lee, or is that just the booze talking to Captain Invincible? Is that the seductive lady? Like, I don't know. Like, I
still don't understand why the booze just like makes him. He like knocks him out.
He just like crumples to the ground because I guess he's trying to fight the temptation of going to the booze, so he just like shuts down.
So he goes to fetal position.
He doesn't want to revert back to alcoholism, or just being near alcohol like just makes him weak again. I don't know.
I will. I'm gonna put a link to this song in the show notes when I write them, because anybody who ever looked at the show notes before, you need to listen to this song. It's bad, but if you listen to it like 20 times, the chorus will start getting to you. The chorus will get you.
I mean, it's bad, but it's so clever. It's like all these things. It's like might I say I'm old fashioned, but he's saying, the lyrics is Mai Tai. Mai Tai is a drink. He's not. Also,
Christopher Lee is like, he's a good singer. Like, he's not like he's got. I don't know if he has. I'm sure he might. He has like opera experience.
I think he used to sing in a metal band.
I believe it, because like
he looks like
he does know how to sing it. It doesn't sound bad. It's not like these other people in these other songs, like the president singing here. If you can tell by his face, he's not that great at singing.
So just an interesting note or factoid about the president and Captain Invincible way over there. So Captain Invincible, he was the chief in the Get Smart remake the movie with uh, you know the movie. You didn't see the Get Smart movie, Brian?
I did see it, but I
Was
don't know the name of it. I don't know the names of anybody.
Steve Carell. Steve Carell
Yeah.
was the agent. But so the guy who played Captain Invincible was the chief. The chief is like the person who gives them like their missions
Oh,
or
really?
whatever. Yeah, he's like the head of control. So like our friend Captain Invincible was the chief, and our friend Mr. President, he was in the old '60s Get Smart show as some random character.
Oh, this is the original.
Not as the chief, yeah, but he was in the original. So they both have a Get Smart connection, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I wonder if they talked about that on set in the future. Like, you remember doing that movie?
Oh no, he died. I think before the Get Smart movie came out.
Oh, really? Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, he was apparently in his 60s. He died he was in his 80s. Like he died, I think, in the late 90s. I think.
That would be, yeah, that makes sense. That age would line up.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee's the only one I really knew. I feel like I recognize the president and Captain Invincible. I do recognize him.
He's got a super recognizable face. Like
yeah, I don't know the actor's name. I'm sure somebody probably does, and they're like, "Why don't you know?" I was like, "I don't. I only know Christopher Lee."
I'm not Jay from Red Letter Media. I don't know all their names. But
Yeah, I don't know everything.
I literally tried to do some research for some kind of like background knowledge. Like, what have I seen these other people in? Because of course we all know Christopher Lee. We just talked about how amazing he was in Lord of the Rings last week or 2 weeks ago.
So, oh god, and then his plan ends up working anyways. Mr. Midnight's plan ends up blowing up the islands anyway with the people on it, with the submarines, and he gets his way, but then Captain Invincible throws like the giant earth ball
The globe
into the pool, and it just kills everybody.
Well, he uses his magnetic power. It makes like the lights go out, and then he throws the ball to kill Christopher Lee, Dr. Midnight, or Mr. Midnight, and then he goes flying around and like he blows up the other submarines that are in the water somehow. I don't know. I guess he uses
Well, this is
magnetic
okay.
power
So
on
this
them,
scene
too.
here. So before we get to there, this ball, this earth that he throws, it's huge. Like in real life, it was like a giant ball, but it looks like it was like one of those like beach balls, where it's like, you know, like a small beach ball, but it was like blown up to like a super large, like you could fit like 20 people inside this ball.
Yeah,
He just throws it into
it
the
was
pool.
probably like a 20-ish foot diameter, like minimum, probably.
Yeah. And it looks like it had the like movement of a beach ball. It's probably just filled it with air, I would imagine.
Well, I think they just moved it with strings, whatever it was.
They could have just done that.
Strings make things look weird.
Now, this next scene is now Captain Invincible gets his powers back, and he has to go defeat the submarines. But how? Okay, so the shot they used for this is an old shot from like the 50s or 60s when
of
they
the nuclear
tested a
test.
nuke in the ocean, and they kept reusing like
It was the same the same shot
it's
from like
same-
Bikini
no,
Bay or whatever.
He's flying around and he points towards the ground, and it shows like a submarine. It shows the one submarine they have, part of it rising, and then it cuts to like this nuke shot that the U.S. government did, and then he does it again where it shows a little bit more of the submarine, points, and then it shows more of the nuke shot, and then shows it again. It happens 3 times where this nuke shot and this submarine shot are used, where it's just him pointing at stuff. He's like, magnet on! And it creates a nuke
I guess. I don't know. It's
or an atomic bomb, some huge bomb that was tested. And they're just using footage of that, I've seen that shot. Everybody, I think most people at that YouTube video of this like nuke shot has like 100 million views on YouTube, but they use this shot in this movie, which I thought was funny. And the sound effects in this movie are like the cartoon sound effects. Throughout the whole movie, they're cartoon sound effects, like the boing, and they use a lot of those. So I got a kick out of that.
yeah. Doom Eternal uses cartoon sound effects too. If it's the glory kills.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have much more to say about it. I think I talked about all my gripes.
Would you best the worst style? Would you recommend this movie, or would you suggest anyone watch this film?
If you like movies, yes. If you like just movies, and you don't like only watch like Marvel stuff, yes, well you gotta watch it. What about you, David?
I mean, like it depends on what you like. If you like watching obscure trash or movies people
Obscure trash.
would consider trash, this is a must watch. If you like weird obscure stuff, if you only have modern sensibilities for movies, I would not suggest watching it because it feels dated. It even feels dated next to like Superman that also came out around the same time with you know.
Actually, watch this with friends. Don't watch it with yourself. Don't watch. I don't suggest it to watch it by yourself. But if you're with friends, then watch it. You'll get
Yeah.
that will bring enjoyment.
Yeah, it's a mystery science theater 3000 kind of movie. Like you sit down with your friends and you just kind of like make fun of the movie when you're watching it. It's like Neil Breen-ish level, but
Neil
not.
Breen's on his own. He's in a different
Neil
tier,
Breen
man.
is on his own level, really, but no, he's on his own level. But it's kind of there where like I feel like it's unintentionally funny, where because Neil Breen stuff is very unintentionally funny, I think.
Yes, it is.
And I mean, I know this movie was trying to be a comedy, but sometimes I definitely feel like some of the parts are unintentionally funny. I don't know. It was very special.
A special experience.
It's a special experience. Yeah.
I think this definitely is going to influence some of the movie, some of the topics we talk about in the future. Because it was pretty fun to watch and talk about.
Oh yeah, it's just unlike anything I've seen in recent years. It is truly bizarre, and like just it's hard to describe. It's just it's kind of its own thing. Like it's a superhero comedy musical. Like when have those ever been like a thing? And I mean, I know there was a Spider-Man musical on Broadway that was unintentionally funny because Spider-Man kept swinging in the walls. But I mean, no, in a film, like I don't feel like there's been very many superhero comedy musicals. So
I don't think so either.
it's its own
But
genre.
this is very findable. Well, it's kind of if you know how to Google, it's findable, I guess. I mean, you might be able to go on eBay and buy a VHS copy of this for I don't know how much, but like if you wanted to watch it, we're suggesting like go watch this with your friends when it's like not the easiest thing to find to watch.
You'd have to watch it on a computer probably, like because it's on the archive site. It's I suppose a legal site. Brian found it, so
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure it's fine. It's old, so I mean, I tried to look for it on streaming. I tried to look for it for Renday. I could not find
it's
it.
nowhere.
I could not find it anywhere.
It's not on
the regular
anything.
site. I didn't Google it. I was just looking for it on the site. So Brian found it, doing the ye old Googles.
It's literally the only spot I could find where this where this movie's even watched. You can't watch it. It's nowhere. There's nowhere where I could find this movie at all, except just an archive site.
Yeah.
So yeah, watch it with friends. Don't watch it by yourself. Enjoy yourself. Don't expect this is not a Marvel movie. There's no post credit scene.
There's no post credit scene. There's no giant light shooting up in the sky. There's no CG monster fight at the end.
It's the boss fight is Christopher Lee singing.
Singing, yes.
That's
sing
literally the fight. There is no like punching or kicking. It's Christopher Lee's using his singing.
He's singing with these ladies, and they're all got their shakers shaking a drink for Captain Invincible.
Yeah.
It's something, man. It is something. So if you're into something, you should check this movie out.
If you're into something, check it out.
Oh man. Well, it's a thing. So until next time, if you don't drink the poison,
Email David at Synthaholics@yahoo.com. Drink the poison, or we'll bring the poison.
until next time.